Can a camera do more than capture reality? Can it see beyond the surface of how things look to how they feel? We're taking a look at some of cinema's best distortions to see how movies can exceed visual stenography. These are our picks for the top 10 best examples of subjectivity on film. What is subjectivity in cinema? We're not just talking about a POV shot here. This wouldn't be a very interesting list if we just focused on what it looked like to see from the point of view of a character's eyes. No, subjectivity is more about creating the experience of what it's like to think out of a character's mind. How do filmmakers render an experience through a distorted human lens? How can they use clever camera and effects and CGI and lighting and editing and sound to film something more akin to the mental representation of event rather than the physical one? Let's kick it off with a simple example so we can find our footing. First up, we're looking at films that present a cinematic version of an altered state of awareness. Maybe a normal day and a normal state of mind gets a normal scene, but something has happened to make a character experience the world abnormally, and we're along for the ride. Maybe it's a sense of expanded brain power as in Limitless, or the heightened cognition of genius as in Sherlock Holmes. Maybe it's going deaf as in The Life and Loves of Beethoven, or just a heightened fixation on the word knife as in Blackmail. It could be the ability to see ghosts, matrix vision, or one ring-based invisibility. However, for our number 10 pick, we've got to give it to Spielberg's take on shell shock from Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan is known for its uber-real aesthetic. Legend has it that veterans walked out of the theater en masse for fear of setting off their PTSD with its realistic portrayal of the Normandy landing. But is that word real really the right one? This, right here, this is what World War II really looked like. This is an actual documenting of reality. But it's a far cry from Saving Private Ryan, and it's so real you can almost taste it feeling. And that's because when these veterans say real, they're not talking about accurate, about documentary level veracity. They're talking about capturing the real essence of it, the real emotion, the real feelings and senses and overall impressions that come from living a moment. And those don't come from capturing an objective reality. They come from capturing a human experience. It takes an obsessive dedication to cataloging the emotional experience and then translating it to filmic techniques on a micro and a macro scale. Now, if you're not getting the whole subjective versus objective thing yet, no worries. We're about to look at some of the clearest examples possible in our number 9 with hallucinations. Is that person, that thing, that terrifying beast really there in the film's version of the real world? No, but we're seeing it as if it were, because that's what the character's brain is doing to them. Think The Shining, or Throne of Blood, or Swiss Army Man, or Altered States, or pretty much anything made by Cronenberg. We love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Odd Man Out, but for our number 9 pick, we've got to give it to Fight Club.
Tyler's not here. Tyler went away. Tyler's gone.
What?
This is impossible. No, this is crazy.
People do it every day. They talk to themselves. They see themselves as they'd like to be. They don't have the courage you have to just run with it.
Yeah, we know. This pick is about as basic as a pumpkin kale spice American Apparel scoop neck latte, but who are we kidding? It's one of the best ongoing hallucinations ever committed to film. It poses subjectivity as reality, the camera tricking the audience like the narrator's eyes trick him. There's no tilt-shift lens or crazy colors, just a man who isn't really there, and the brilliant writing, blocking, and staging necessary to persuade. Throw in some bonus points for some super heady foreshadowing with these single-frame flashes, and Tyler is the narrator reveal fuckery at the end, and you've got yourself one hell of a trip. For our number 8, we're looking at different films' representations of the experience of mental illness. Not just what someone looks like when they've got one, but what it feels like to be inside. And a lot of times this means hallucinations too. From A Beautiful Mind, to The Machinist, to Shutter Island, to The Tenant, to Kotoko. But there's more to mental illness on screen than just seeing things that don't exist. Black Swan's also got a great take on obsession and compulsion. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari at madness, Spider at psychosis, Martha May Marcy Marlene at PTSD and paranoia, and Synecdoche, New York at hypochondria. And for our number 8 pick, we love Clean Shaven for its listen at schizophrenia. Shaven is one of the most incredible uses of subjective sound ever put to images. Their contrast is brilliant, their lack of grounding often terrifying. The rift between what we hear and what we see is a constant reminder that something is all in our head, although this makes the experience no more comforting. Director Kerrigan set out to show the audience the sounds, the feelings, the paranoia, the anxiety of real schizophrenia. More than just a plot device or cool third-act twist, he uses his filmmaking for empathy, for insight, and for a chance to experience something most people never will. Along the same lines, another incredibly common use of the subjective lens is for character intoxication. Cinema's got a long history of showing what it's like to get f***ed up with occasionally suspicious accuracy. They could be drunk, as in Lock, Stock or Mean Streets, on ecstasy, as in Black Swan, The 25th Hour, Human Traffic or Garden State, heroin, as in Killing Them Softly and Drugstore Cowboy, cocaine, as in Chopper, LSD, as in Easy Rider, DMT, as in Enter the Void, or even some made-up craziness, as in Dredd, Batman Begins, and Young Sherlock Holmes. But for our number 7 pick, we don't think anyone's done pissed out of their mind like Apocalypse Now. Here, Coppola and his team use dissolves, fades, superpositions, morphing sights and sounds, and disorientation to create a sense of being out of your mind drunk. It presents a man with fractured thoughts on a screen with fractured images. It has all the continuity of a blackout, all the visual stability of the spins. And we haven't had much of an opportunity yet to talk about music, but this is as good a chance as we'll ever get. Music, in the score and in the soundtrack, is one of the most ubiquitous examples of subjectivity in film. Obviously, the score isn't reality. Most often, it's used to steer how we feel at any given moment. And when that steering is used to nudge us closer to the experience of a character, well, you get something like this. Next up at number 6, we're looking at how characters' imaginations can alter the world around them, how the stories they tell can seep into their realities until they're living in them. Think Atonement, The Fall, Finding Neverland, Amelie, Pan's Labyrinth, The Usual Suspects, and A Monster Calls. They're beautiful, colorful, larger-than-life constructions of pure Willy Wonka madness. But if there's a film that exemplifies all that and more, it's gotta be Big Fish.
In telling the story of my father's life, it's impossible to separate fact from fiction, the man from the myth. The best I can do is to tell it the way he told me. It doesn't always make sense, and most of it never happened.
Big Fish is an exploration of the fissures between what we believe, what we say, and what really is or was. Alternating between the neutral-colored world of reality and the soft, vibrant glow of myth, Big Fish sees a relationship repaired through stories, sees imagination shift and revise with new detail, explores its roots in truth. It is a love letter to the imagination, to the power and advantage of exaggeration, to the intimacy of shared myth, and for that, we love it. Take imagination, add in a dash of wish fulfillment, and you've got our next slot, fantasy. Characters envision a world in the shape of their hidden desires, and then the film allows them to physically dwell in it as they do. Think Brazil, or Todoleros, or The Basketball Diaries. Think 1 Hour Photo, or Unfaithfully Yours, or Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It happens in American Beauty, La La Land, and beautifully in 8½, but for our number 5 pick, we're giving it to The Last Temptation of Christ. Here again, we have subjectivity masquerading as objectivity. Scorsese playing with what is and is not real with both his characters and us. But the justification and execution here are absolutely perfect. It is an opportunity for Jesus to grapple with his desires, his doubts. It moves through time in a heightened, too-good-to-be-true manner. The camera floats, the angel coos, the wedding he's looking onto is his own. Wedding becomes lovemaking, becomes pregnancy, becomes old age, becomes death, with a chronological approach more akin to a daydream than a day-to-day. From start to finish, it is is one of the most ambitious, misleading, and controversial examples of fantasy that cinema has ever envisioned. Next up at number 4, we've got a blockbusting category that hardly needs explanation: the dream sequence. And there's more of these than you can shake an imaginary stick at, but our favorites include Gold Rush, Sherlock Jr., Waltz with Bashir, obviously Inception, Kagemusha, and Vertigo. Spellbound is an incredible collabo between Hitchcock and Dali, but for our dream pick, we don't even have a choice.